Board of Education, I would like to thank you for allowing me to come and visit with you guys about our religious policies. You know, the longer you wait to have tough conversations, the tougher they are to have. And I want to thank you for allowing me to come visit about this. You know, religion expression in schools is one of the most debated topics. I want to make sure that our policies are up to date. And we're going to look at suggestions to improve our district policies or just to make sure that they are current. First, a little background. What is the Establishment Clause in the First Amendment? According to the American Association of School Administrators, the Establishment Clause prevents all government entities, including public school officials and teachers, from requiring that the participation of citizens, including students, in a religious exercise. According to the Pew Report of 2019, it is common to see religious expressions in the school setting, perhaps praying before meals, wearing jewelry or clothing with religious meaning. This is not necessarily the issue that schools face. Harassment, exclusion, and other rights being taken away are the problems we may face. Prayer in school. According to the Pew Report, students and staff may pray if it is on their own time and they are not encouraging others to participate. The coercion. Without question, public school employees retain the rights to free exercise of religion. When off duty, they are free to engage in worship or any other faith-based activity. But when they are on duty, they represent the school, and the rights are constrained by the Establishment Clause. Moment of silence. According to the Pew Report and USDEE, just as long as the students, they can have a moment of silence on the student's turn, and no one is forced to participate. Students can meditate, relax, pray, or do basically anything they want, just as long as they're not disruptive. The Pledge of Allegiance. This one has been talked about many times and went to many different court cases. But however, according to the 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, in 2010 reversed the district court's decision, ruling that reciting the pledge did not constitute as an establishment of religion. So what this means is we can say the Pledge of Allegiance, but we cannot make it mandatory. Students may sit in silence and not recognize the Pledge of Allegiance, and they shouldn't receive any repercussions. Student speeches. This has been a hot topic too. As a school, you must read their speech or make sure that religious messages are not in it. Because if we do that, we have support of the courts when asking students not to have a religious message. But we can't always control what happens when they start their message to the crowds. But if we have done our due diligence, we will be supported by the court. Holiday programs. School officials must ensure that the predominance of secular considerations, such as the program's educational value or the musical qualities of the pieces. Students may feel pressure to participate in the program. And if they do, students should have the option to opt out without penalty. According to the Pew Report of 2019, religious expression in public schools, which the U.S. Department of Education sent to every superintendent in 1995, and they revised it in 2003. They place greater emphasis on the rights of students to speak or associate for religious purposes. These guidelines highlight these 4 principles. Students acting on their own have the same right to engage in religious activities. Students may offer a prayer or blessing before meals in school or assemble on school grounds for religious purposes. Students may not engage in religious harassment of others or compel other students to participate in religious expression. And schools may control aggressive or wanton proselytizing. And this comes into effect from Harper versus Poway School District. They had a day of silence for the gay community, and the next day a student came with a shirt that was inappropriate and very offensive. So the school asked him to remove his shirt, and he thought his rights were being taken away, but they were actually supportive because it was creating a hostile environment for other students. Schools may neither favor nor disfavor students or groups on the basis of their religious identities. The USD Guidance Report. To receive funds under the ESEA, the local education agency or local school boards must certify in writing to the state that no policy of the local school board prevents or otherwise denies participation in constitutionally protected prayer in public elementary and secondary schools. And no school teacher or administrator shall lead a prayer or conduct religious activities as acting in their official capacities, but they are more than willing to participate when it is outside of school. Example, Wig versus Sioux Falls School District. Wig is a teacher that wanted to sponsor Good News Club, and it was after school in other school districts, but their school district, Sioux Falls School District, said no. But the court supported Wig, and she was allowed to do Good News Club in her own district or other districts because it was outside of regular school hours. The Establishment Clause prohibits state officials from making judgments about what constitutes an appropriate prayer and from favoring or disfavoring certain types of prayers. They must be non-sectarian and non-proselytizing, or the opposite. The Equal Access Act. This is treated as religious meetings must be treated the same as all other extracurricular activities. This means they're allowed to meet on their own time, before school, after school, lunch, recess, any time it's non-instructional time. Must allow students to advertise any means necessary through the announcements, school publications, website, email, and their groups may include prayer or worship. The Equal Access Act also permits religious students to groups to allow only members of their religion to serve in leadership positions. President Trump. President Trump said the government must never stand between the people and God, and said public schools too often stop students from praying and sharing their faith. As one school did with a student at Ash Wednesday, they asked him to take the ash off. Trump did not propose changes to existing laws or regulations, but the White House says it wants to empower students and teachers to exercise their rights. It also reiterated that if you are in your official capacity or representing the school, you must not lead anyone in prayer or worship. I want to thank the board for allowing me to come speak, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. Standard correlation. I had to evaluate laws and policies regarding religion in schools. The role play put me in a real scenario to read about the laws and court cases on how it related to our school policies. It kept me up to date on how to make sure our policies were current. Had to make sure that we don't take away the rights of the students and staff to express a religion on their own time. It must be fair and equitable. Try to present in a non-threatening way and not to offend anyone on the board. I would have to check laws in any news cases relating to religion in schools and what the results was of the case so we could stay up to date. Relevant. It improved my understanding of religion issues in schools. I had to read and reread the material until I had a good understanding of the material. I now know how religion is handled in our school. And in our KA building, our kids are released and bused 2 times a week to go to Catholic religion. And all the other students that do not go, they stay back for character education. And as a future school leader, you must stay up to date on issues regarding religion and make sure our staff understands our policies on religious issues. I want to make sure our clubs are not discriminated against and are treated fairly. And I want to make sure our coaches, sponsors understand the role of prayer and extracurricular activities. And here are my references.